Nobody Okay, hello everyone. I hope you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll start with our session number 2, and this is going to be on ES. ES means ECMAScript 6, right? So as I told you, what we are going to do is, okay, let me create a document here. Right. So as I told, what we are going to do, we are going to first discuss ECMAScript for session number 2 and 3, and then we'll start with TypeScript for session number 4 and 5. Okay, and then we'll start with Angular. Right. So why we are doing this? Because Angular 2 follows the TypeScript syntax, right? And TypeScript follows the ECMAScript standards. Okay. So what is ECMAScript? ECMAScript is the standard which is followed by different scripting languages, right? So till now JavaScript majorly supports ECMAScript 5. Okay, and ECMAScript 6 is the latest, and TypeScript uses ECMAScript 6 only. All right, so what we will do, we will first learn ECMAScript 6, at least basics and commonly used concepts of ECMAScript 6 for 2 sessions, and then we will learn TypeScript, right? So basically, to learn TypeScript, you should be well versed with basics concepts of ECMAScript 6, right? And similarly, to learn Angular 2, you should be knowing about little bit of TypeScript. Okay, so that is why we will first learn ECMAScript, then TypeScript, and then we will move on to Angular. All right. So let's start with ECMAScript 6. So this is our first session on ES6. So sometimes it is called as ES6. Some people call it as ECMAScript 6. Some people call it ECMAScript 2015. Okay. So these are the things which we are going to cover today. We'll have a brief overview of ES6. We'll look at what is scoping. This is not scoping, this is scoping actually. And then we'll look at destructuring and promises and arrow functions. These promises maybe we'll see if we can cover today itself. Okay. So what is ES6? ES6 is ECMAScript 6, which is the 6th major release of ECMAScript language specification, right? So as I told, ECMAScript is a complete consortium who sets the standards for different scripting languages, right? Be it JavaScript, be it TypeScript. Okay, so ECMAScript sets the standards which different languages follow. Okay, so JavaScript also follows ECMAScript, TypeScript also follows ECMAScript. Okay, so ECMAScript 6 has come up with lot of new features which JavaScript is still undergoing. Okay, JavaScript does not fully support ECMA 6, right? But TypeScript follows ES6 standards. Okay, so we will see what all new things have come up in ES6, which are really nice to know and which are really helpful. All right. So do all browsers support ES6? I will say no. ES6 is still not yet completely supported by all the browsers. Okay, so these numbers 95, 83, all this stuff, I don't know from where these numbers have come, but Chrome is the best browser to work on while working with ES6. After that, Safari and all. Okay, so I always recommend Chrome to be used while development. Okay, so why these browsers does not support it fully? Because it's new. As it is new, so browser making companies, be it Mozilla, be it Google Chrome, right? All these companies also have to set their browsers so as to meet the expectations of ES, right? So browsers also implement whatever the technology has undergone the changes, right? Whatever changes ECMAScript has brought, all those things have to be implemented by browser companies as well, right? You are able to run JavaScript on browser because that browser supports JavaScript, right? Similarly, browser should support ECMAScript 6 matching standards as well. Okay, so still it is not fully supported, but it doesn't mean you cannot start with it. You can anyway start with it because, as I told, Chrome is one of the updated browsers which mostly try to keep everything updated. So what we will also do, we will also run on Chrome only. Okay, all right. So some of the features which ECMAScript 6 has, it's scoping, destructuring, promises. Uh, you guys can't hear me because I got a ping from Pratik that no audio. Pratik, other guys are able to hear me. Can you check at your end,
Hello.
Pratik? Yeah. Yeah, Pratik, tell
The
me.
voice is, I mean, the voice is clear, but at times it breaks. Like it becomes totally nil. Whether you are talking or not, it doesn't get clear.
Okay. Others are also facing the same issue. Okay, Pratik, it might be an issue at your end because others are able to listen everything fine.
Fine, I can check with the.
Yeah, just check your internet connection.
Sure.
All right. So I was talking about some of the features of ES6, which include scoping, destructuring, promises, arrow functions, set and map, and rest parameters. Okay, so we will see how much of it we can cover today, and remaining we will cover tomorrow. So set and map, rest parameters, anyways we are going to cover today. All right. Okay, so coming to our first feature of ES6, which is default parameters. All right, so what we will do is I will write the code here in the Sublime text. Okay, and to run this I will copy the code and I will paste in the Google Chrome console. Okay, so do you guys know what is this Google Chrome console? right? In your browsers, this console is there, which is also called as developer tools. All right. Once you open the window, you right click and click on inspect. Once you click on inspect, it will open this elements tab. You click on console tab. All right. So here you will be able to run the JavaScript code. Okay. So whatever code we will write, we can directly run it here. All right. So we'll write code in Sublime only, but I will copy the code and paste it here to run it. Okay. So if any one of you doesn't know what is developers tool, you just open this Chrome window, right click and click on inspect, or you can also directly click on Control Shift I. It will open the console. All right. So our first topic, which is default parameters. So what I will do is I will side by side tell you how you generally write in ES5 code and how it is modified in ES6. Okay. So let's first write ES5 code. Okay. So how we usually write. Okay. Let's suppose I have a function. Okay. Let me start a script tag first. Right. So we have the script tag. And here, what we will do, we will start writing a function. Okay. Now, let's suppose I give it a name, my new function. Okay. So this is a basic function everybody knows, right? Now, let's suppose this function accepts one parameter. Okay. It accepts one argument or a parameter. Let's suppose his name is temp, a temporary variable temp. Okay. Now you want to call this function, my new function, and like this. All right. Now this my new function expects one parameter, right? A parameter should be passed to this my new function, right? It can be a value from here, right? Let's suppose I pass 1. Now I forgot to pass this parameter, let's suppose, or I deliberately do not pass any parameter from this definition. All right. So what you generally do? You generally do like this, right? Let's suppose a variable is created, variable x equals to temp. If temp is not there, then what you write? You write a or condition like this, right? When there is no parameter passed, then what you do? You check whether the temp value is present or not. If it is present, then it will assign it to x. Otherwise, this or condition works, right? 0 is assigned to x, right? This is how you generally do in JavaScript or ES5. Okay, so this is ES5, right? So this is the default parameters. Let's suppose you haven't passed any value from this function call, then what line number 10 will do? It will automatically assign 0 to variable x. All right. Now let's see how you do it in ES6. ES6. Okay. So how you pass default parameters in ES6? You pass it by mentioning it in the function definition itself. Let's suppose function is there, right? And I say my second function. All right. And it also accepts one temporary variable. And while calling this function, You also do not want to pass any parameter, right? Then how you do it in ES6, you mention it here itself. Okay, so let's suppose here a variable is there, y equals temp. All right, let's run the first code in the browser first. I copy this code and I paste it here and I press enter, right? Okay, I forgot to print it. Let's print as well. All right, you can see I am printing the value of x here. Variable x is equal to temp. Since temp is not present, then it has assigned value 0 to it. You can see value 0 is printed, right? Now let's run the ES6 code. That means this code. Okay. When I run this code, okay, again I have to print the value of y. Right? You can see that this 0 is printed. So that means temp is assigned a value which is 0. Okay. Now let's suppose while calling, you pass some parameter, right? To my second function, you pass some parameter. Let's suppose 2. And when I press enter, you can see now the value 2 is printed because y is having now value as 2. Okay. So this is how you can easily make a default parameter to the function. While calling you can make it a default value like this. Okay. So you do not need to do like this, or you do not need to make any check. If value is passed while calling the function, then it will be assigned to the first parameter. Otherwise, it's the default value will be assigned to the argument. All right. So that's one of the changes. I'll not call changes, but one of the features which has come up in ES6. All right. So that is the default parameter. Now comes the template literals. Okay. So how you used to have a template literal? Let's suppose you are having some value. Let's suppose there is something called as name. Okay. So let's suppose first name is there. Let's suppose I say Mac and I create another variable which is last name. Which is, let's suppose, Mark. Okay. So how you used to write in ES5 or JavaScript? Let's suppose you want to print this name. Let's suppose you want to print this name, complete name, right? So what you used to do? You used to write like this. So I just write console.log. And what I write? I simply write in some string, name is plus, let's suppose first name plus some string value, right? And then plus last name, right? This is how you used to do in ES5, a string literal. Okay, so I say this is ES5. This will print the name Mac and Mark, right? This line number 24, it will print these two values, right? So this is ES5. Now, how you do it in ES6? Okay, so answer to the first question in the chat, then how it print 2? It print 2 because I passed 2 as a parameter while calling the function. Then it printed 2. Otherwise, for the first run, it has printed 0 only. Namita, you are getting this? Yeah, while that's a feature actually. So when you pass it like this in the as an argument temp equals to 0, it is not directly assigned, but it first make a check while calling. If a parameter is passed, then it will assign it to the argument. If no parameter is passed, then only it will assign 0. Okay. All right. So there is a second question as well. Node.js uses ES6. Node.js, again, I will say Node.js, for Node.js also it depends, right? You can write code for Node.js in JavaScript as well. Okay, so plain JavaScript as well. That means ES5. But I don't know if you have got the parsers or whatever is there for Node to convert your code to ES5 from ES6 to ES5, right? Just like for Angular, we have got TypeScript. So what TypeScript will do, we will write our code in ES6, but it will convert it back to ES5. So I am not aware of what Node will do for this. Maybe Node has already got a compiler which does the stuff for Node.js. Okay. All right. So we were talking about the string literal, right? So this is something which we generally do to make a string, right? Now ES6 has come up with its own syntax, which is called as backtick syntax. Okay, so to run the same line in ES6, what you will do, you will write console.log of what? Backtick. Okay, so what is this backtick? This backtick is nothing but which you find just besides your one, right? In your laptop there is one, right? You guys know this backtick. What is backtick? Backtick symbol. Yeah, so if you use shift, sorry, the function key and the tilt, right, then you get this backtick, right? This is also called as tilt. All right, so ES6 uses this symbol. So how you can do is you can write name is, and inside that what you can use the dollar syntax. Let's suppose you are having the value dollar, and what is the key name? It's first name, right? And then you write again a dollar symbol, and this curly braces and last name like this. Okay, let's run this code in the browser now. I just clear this off, and when I will press enter, you can see both the times same value is printed. For the first console.log, it prints the same value, name is Mac and Mark. For second console.log statement, also it prints the same thing, right? So this is how you create a string literal in ES6 using backtick and $sign.
This whatever we are using this $sign, is it TypeScript?
Not TypeScript, it's ES6.
Okay, then why do we need TypeScript? Everything is supported in ES6, right? So why a separate language? A separate
Because
syntax?
AngularJS uses TypeScript syntax.
Okay.
AngularJS is written in TypeScript.
Okay, TypeScript can be used only with conjunction with AngularJS. It's not like normally HTML I write and a script when I write, I cannot write a TypeScript.
You can use it,
Okay.
but everything should be supported, right? So
Then we,
TypeScript should be supported in your browser.
yeah, then ideally they could have used ES6 only, right? I mean, even for the Angular.
No, ES6, I will say that ES6 is the standard, right? This is the standard which is given by ES6, which I'm telling. All these are nothing but standards.
Okay.
Now different companies who are making the scripting languages, right? Let's take JavaScript, let's take TypeScript. So TypeScript is a Microsoft product. Microsoft will follow the ECMAScript standards while writing a new scripting language.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a standard. This dollar syntax is a standard. Now when Microsoft started creating the TypeScript, they will follow this standard.
Okay.
If you want to create a string literal, then they will be creating a string literal like this. They have to follow this standard.
AngularJS is also from Microsoft. Angular 2.
No, Angular, I will say Angular 1 was given by Google.
Okay.
Now Angular 2, for Angular 2, Google and Microsoft, both the companies are working together.
Okay.
Okay. So earlier Google was, AngularJS was written in JavaScript, so they don't need any separate company to collaborate with. But now AngularJS uses TypeScript, which is a Microsoft product. Okay. So that
Okay.
is why both the companies are working together. All right. Okay. So I repeat this. Yeah. So to answer to the first question, why this space is printed, because I have given the space in this while printing this in the console.log. I have given 2 spaces. That is why 2 spaces are coming here. All right. Yeah, Atul, I'll repeat this. So the new syntax basically earlier, I'll tell the earlier syntax. Earlier syntax, we were having the single quotes, right, to concatenate a string, right? But in new ES6 syntax, what we have the backtick. Okay, so this backtick, inside this backtick, you need not to split your string, right? Here, what we have to do, if it is normal string, you keep it like this. If it is a variable name, then you write a plus sign and append the variable, right? But in ES6 now they have given this dollar and curly braces sign. So this dollar and curly braces, whatever you write in between, will be treated as a variable name. That is why this first name is not considered as a string. This first name is treated as this variable whose value is Mac. So this Mac value will be replaced here. Similarly, the last name value is Mark. Mark will be replaced here. Is this clear now? All right, cool. Okay, so for multi-line, it's pretty simple. Earlier, what we used to do, we used to have this, right? We used to give \n, \t. If it is multi-line, we have to write plus, right? Now you just have to write \n. Simple. So this is nothing difficult or nothing different. That's pretty simple. Now comes the scoping. This is a really good concept which ES6 has come up, right? So before going to scoping, let me tell you about let and const. Okay, so this is ES6. All right, so how you create variables in JavaScript or ES6?
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, just can you explain? I'm a bit confused between all these three core terms: AngularJS, JavaScript, TypeScript, transpiler, ES6 and ES5 are the standards. But how are they interconnected between them, between each other?
All right. So first of all, let's talk about ES5. Okay, so ES5 has given some standards. Okay, so ES5 means 5th version of ECMAScript. All right, so these standards were followed by JavaScript. Okay, now ES has come up with their next standard, which is ES6. All right, now JavaScript is also trying to follow ES6 standard, right? But they are not in a race right now. So TypeScript also follows JavaScript, ES6 standards only. Okay, but TypeScript, I will say, majorly follows ES6. Okay, since TypeScript follows ES6 very nicely and I will say majorly, so what Angular has done, right? So Angular 1 was written on JavaScript. Okay, so Angular guys, what they do, they build their Angular 1.x version on JavaScript. All right, now when Angular 2 started, right, they collaborated with Microsoft. Okay, or I will say directly TypeScript. Okay, Angular 2 is now following the TypeScript syntax. All right, so Angular 2 is written on TypeScript, right? And TypeScript follows ES6 syntax. Okay, is there any confusion till now?
Clear.
Is this clear now?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to creating the variables. So how you create variable in ES5? Pretty simple. Write var, variable name and variable value. Right? Straightforward and simple. Right? Now ES6 is having another thing called as let. Okay, so using ES5 you can create by var. Now ES6 has come up with let. Okay, let whatever name is there, var name a cat guild. Okay, so you will be seeing that we will be using let only for our most of the syntaxes. We will use let. However, it does not mean that var is gone. No, you can still create a variable by var in ES6 as well. Okay, but let is also there. Using let also you can create a variable. Okay, then there comes one more thing, which is how to create constants. Was there any way to create constants in JavaScript? No, but now there is a keyword called as const. Okay, so const is a keyword which has come up with ES6 that you can create a constant in JavaScript or constant in TypeScript, I will say. Okay, so const is a keyword using which you can create a constant. Let's suppose I create a constant pi whose value is 3.145. Okay, so what is the meaning of constant? Constant means its value cannot change, right? Since we cannot change a value, it should throw an error, right? So what I will do, let's run this code, right? I run this const pi equals 3.145. I press enter. Now, if I try to put some other value, let's suppose 100 in pi, then what will happen? It will throw a error, right? But it says uncode type error assignment to constant variable, right? Since pi is a constant, you cannot change its value afterwards. Okay, so ES6 has given us a way using which we can create a constant as well. Okay, yeah, there is no advantage or disadvantage, I will say, but it's a different way or a newer way of creating a variable in ES6. Okay, so ES6 guys have not removed var, they have kept var as well, so you can use var anyways. Okay, so anyways you can use var, but let is also there. Okay, now one more thing I will show you with let. Okay, which will come under scoping. All right, so is this clear till now? What is a constant? We will come to let, because let has one more thing to do, which is in the scoping. All right, now let's talk about the scoping. So how many types of scopes were there in JavaScript? In JavaScript, there were only two scopes. First one was function scope and second one was global scope. Right? Scoping means scope of a variable. Right? One was the function scope and another was global scope. Right? So let me write a code. So we have a function called as ABC maybe. Right? Here we have a variable x equals 10. Right? Then what I do, I write a condition. If variable x equals 10, then variable x equals 100. Okay, and then I print value of x. Okay, so any guesses what line number 40 will print? Okay, two people says 10, two people says 100. Okay, we have a error as well. Okay, okay, so we have mixed reviews, mixed answers, 10, 100 and error. All right, so let's run this code. I press enter. Okay, and then I call the function ABC. All right, so you can see what it prints. It prints 100, right? Why it is 100? So people who are telling 10, answer to your query or why you were wrong, because I just told that there are only two types of scopes in JavaScript. First one is a function scope, right? Second one is global scope, right? So if you say that after if we are having one block, line of block, right? Block of code, and inside of this we are again creating a variable x, right? But there is no block scope in JavaScript, right? So that means there is no scope existing between line number 37 to 39. There is no new scope. So what is the scope of this variable, line number 38? This is also having the function scope only. Since this variable is also in function scope, this variable is also in function scope, so variable x value 10 will be overridden by value 100. That is why it is printing value as 100. All right. So this was the case we were having the JavaScript, right? Now let's talk about the ES6 using the let syntax. Okay. So ES6 has come up with one more scope called as the block scope. Sanjay, what do you mean by we can declare a variable? Redeclare a variable. Yes, you can do it in JavaScript. Just like we did at line number 36, again we declared the variable at line number 38. You can easily do it. Okay. Now let's talk about the new scope, which is the block scope. Okay. So I again create a function xyz where I create variable using let. Let x is equal to 10. And I again write if x value is 10, then I make let x equals 100, and then I print the value of x. All right. Now in this case, what will be the value of x at line number 49? Okay, so Janya says 100, Atul says 1000. All right, 100. Okay. Now you will see the difference of let and where. I just paste this code. I call xyz function, and you can see what it prints. It prints 10. Right? Because ES6 has come up with the new concept of block scoping. Right? So that means when you create variables using let, they are having a block scope as well. Okay, so that means you are having three types of scopes in ES6 now: function scope, global scope, as well as the block scope. So variable which is created at line number 47 is having only block scope. If you will print this console.log of x here, right, that means inside the block, if you print this and outside the block as well, right, then we will see what is the difference. I copy this and I paste it. I call xyz function. You can see 100 is printed inside the function, inside the block, and 10 is printed outside the block. Okay, so that's the new thing which is come up in the block scope. So Janya asking, all the let variables will have the block scope. No, it depends where you have declared the variable. Here we have declared the variable inside a block, so that means it is having a block scope. The outside one, which is inside the function, is having the function scope. Okay. Okay, Vikrant, what is block scope? Block scope means any code of any set of code which is inside a particular brackets or within a scope only. You getting this? Like this function, this braces, right? This is a scope. Okay, so when you start this bracket and end this bracket, when you create the variable using let, this let variable will have a scope within this bracket only.
And only when a variable is declared with a let keyword, only
Right?
for those variables will have three different types of scopes, like global and function scope and block scope, these three kind of scopes.
Yes.
And when we use a where keyword, that will be only for
Where
the
have only
let,
two types of scope. Yeah.
only two types. Okay, cool. I got it.
All right. Yes, Ami. Anything which is inside the curly braces is a scope, is a block of code, and it will, if you create something inside that, it will have that block scope only. Just like in Java, if you have worked in Java, if you create a variable inside the bracket, you create just a bracket and you write create a variable, it will have the scope of that particular brackets only. All right. Yeah. So that is a scoping feature in ES6. Const we have already told. Next comes is destructuring. Next topic is destructuring. Right. Let me first tell you about ES5. Let's suppose you are having something called as array is there. Okay, and it is having some values 1 2 3 4. Okay, now let's suppose you want to assign these 4 values to some 4 different variables. Okay, right? Let's suppose you want to assign these 4 values to 4 different variables. Then what you used to do, you used to write something like, let's suppose again a value is there x, then what you do, you assign it by an index, right? 0 and where y equals some arrow of 1, right? This is normal ES5 syntax, right? Now comes the destructuring in ES6. Okay, how you will assign these 4 variables to 4 different, sorry, these 4 values to 4 different variables in one line, right? What you will do, you can, let's suppose you are having some x, okay, let's take some other values, L, M, N and O, right? You just assign like this. All right, so how you do this? This is called as destructuring. So earlier what you used to do, you used to pick each and every value by its index and you assign it to a variable. right? But now destructuring says when you want to assign these 4 values to 4 different variables, then what you can do is you can directly assign like this. Then this one value will be automatically get assigned to L, value 2 will be automatically get assigned to M, and so on, 3 to N and 4 to O. Okay, so this concept is called as destructuring in ES6. All right, so if I show you one more example of destructuring here, right? So you have where foo equals 1, 2, 3, right? And you want to assign the value 1, 2, 3 to numeric 1, 2, 3. So you just write equals foo, right? What it will do? It will directly extract the value of 1 to 1, 2 to 2, and 3 to 3. Okay. Similarly, you can do it for an object as well. You are having this object a colon 1, b colon 2, right? You create another object. Okay, this is a vague example actually. They are having the same names. Let's suppose here it was x and y, right? If you assign like this, then x will get assigned to 1 and this 2 value will get assigned to y. Answer to Nutan question is destructure is only for array. No, we have done it for object as well. Okay. What if the number of variables to be assigned are more than array size? Then there is no meaning of doing the destructuring there. If the number of variables to be assigned are more, right? Then they will be having undefined values. Right? So you do it where your need is fulfilled, just like in this example. I will say, yeah, this example, right? This is an object where a category config. This is a name of object, right? Which is having 3 key value pairs. API URL is this, data some value, method type some toast, right? This is simple JSON object having key value pairs, right? Now, while making some AJAX request, you want to bind these 3 values to 3 different variables, right? So what you can do is you can do something directly like this, where URL comma method type comma data equals config, right? What is this config? This config is nothing but this configuration only, right? So API URL, this will get assigned to URL, this variable URL, right? Second, method type post will get assigned to this method type and data will get assigned to data. Okay, so destructuring is process of assigning the property values of an object to a local variable, right? But you need not to write several lines of code to do this. You can do this stuff by easily writing one line of code. Okay, just like this. So this is pretty simple example. So that is why I generally prefer to give you simple examples rather than the complex ones, because using simple examples we understand faster, right? So that is why I do not want to go deeper into object, complex data structure. No, just learn it via simplicity. Where foo equals 1, 2, 3, then again we have these 3 values 1, 2, and 3. If you assign foo to this, then automatically by index 3 values will come inside these 3 variables. Simple. Okay. Yes, Sarvesh. So that is what I wanted to say, that these key numbers does not matter. Key which you are telling in your question, that b equals 1, a equals 2, its name does not matter at all. Only the sequence matters. So first value like this 1, right? In my example where foo equals 1, 1 will always get assigned to the first property, no matter what the name is. Okay, that is why I told this is a vague example which is written here. All right. Yeah. So this was about destructuring. So destructuring is really useful if you use it. Okay. All right. Next comes is the arrow functions. All right. So I tell you about arrow functions first. All right. Now, how you used to write a function in JavaScript, or I will say ES5. Simply function and something like this. Let's suppose you are having a var something def equals function, right? So this was a normal function in ES5. Now ES6 has come up with new syntax of creating a function, which is called as the arrow function, right? So the arrow function, if you look at the declaration or the syntax of arrow function, you will never feel that you have created a function itself. Okay, so let's suppose you are having let def equals, you have something like this and like this. Okay, so this is also a function. Okay, so what is this? This is a arrow, right? It is a arrow, looks like a arrow, equal to and greater than sign. This is actually a arrow, right? And this function keyword, this keyword function is no more present there. Okay, if you compare these two, only thing is this function keyword is removed. Here it was function, right? Function was there, but this function is removed, and there was nothing in between the C bracket and curly bracket. Now arrow has come up. Okay, so this is the newer way of creating a function. Okay, and when you have to pass some parameters, you can simply pass the parameters inside the brackets. Let's suppose a comma b. If you want to pass the parameters, you can pass a comma b, right? How you will call it? You will call it just by this. A comma b will be 1 and 2. Okay, so this is the newer signature of creating a function. All right, and as such, I will say there is nothing new here. Only thing is syntax is changed. Now you need not to write this function keyword. You can directly write the arrow. Okay, and one more thing is there. Let me tell you, which is you will say a benefit of using an arrow function. First one is a simplified syntax. Okay, so how is it simplified? Let's suppose there is only one parameter. Okay, there is only one parameter which is passed to the function. So what you can do is you can directly write like this. You can directly write like this. Okay, you need not to write the brackets as well. However, you can write if you want to, but you can remove the brackets. Okay, so that's the first benefit. And second is, let's suppose your definition, function definition is only having one statement. Let's suppose return a multiplied by a, right? What is this function? This function is nothing but what it does. It basically calculates the square of a variable, right? Whatever you pass to def now, right? You pass 2, then it will return 4, right? So what you can do is, if there is only single line in the definition, what you can do is, I'll show you how to write that. You can just remove the brackets as well. Even these brackets you can remove. You can just write return A multiplied by A. Okay, so what you can do is you have omitted the curly brackets as well as the parentheses. This will work perfectly fine. Okay, so you can see using arrow function, you have written such a simplified code. However, from the first glance, you will see that it is too difficult. But yeah, once you start coding like this, you will enjoy the syntax. However, there is no hard and fast rule that you have to use the arrow function. No, this simplified syntax, which was present in ES5, it is also present in ES6. Okay, so if you do not like the arrow function, then you can go ahead with this function. Like I also prefer using this function only because we are used to it and it looks pretty simple, pretty clear, right? However, this one is not that explicit, right? If you look at for this syntax for the first time, you will get confused. What is this, right? Because this is the newer version or the newer syntax has come up, which is called as the arrow function. Okay, so the survey's question is, isn't the semicolon at the end of function definition required? Function definition, this semicolon, no, this is not required. However, it is always good practice that you write semicolon, but yeah, it is not explicitly forced to write a semicolon. You can say it is optional, but yeah, it is always good practice if you write. For Ami, is it throwing an error? Okay, let's run this syntax. Okay, so first of all, we will run this one. Okay, so let's see. I just tried this. Right, okay, there is nothing to do here. So what I'll do is I'll add some definition. So I just print the values. Console.log of. So I will use the backtick syntax. Okay, dollar curly braces A with dollar curly braces B, right? Oops, I declared this again. Let me refresh. So I just write console.log of. Using backtick sign, I print dollar curly braces of A and dollar curly braces of B, right? It prints 1 and 2. Okay, so this is a simple arrow function. Now let's suppose I just refresh it. I again paste it. Now if there is only one value like this, right, and I just pass 1 from here, right, I just copy this and I paste it. And for the definition, I just print A, console.log of A. It prints 1. Okay. Now, So this one is also working fine without the parentheses. Now let's again copy this and I paste it here, and let's suppose there is only one statement present there. It's working simply fine. Ami Hastir, why is it throwing error for you? Okay, let's write the same thing which you have written in the let df1 equals a, right? And then arrow function return a multiplied by a, right? And then I take a variable x equals what, df1 of a, right? And then I print x. Okay, unexpected token return. Okay, so maybe for return it doesn't work. Maybe for return you have to write the curly braces. Let's write the curly braces. And I just copy this. Okay, it says a is not defined. Where a is not defined.
In function, when you're calling a function, you should pass some value, right? Def
Yes,
1,
sorry.
2.
Actually, A is not a variable. That's
Right,
why.
right. Here,
A is
let's
a
suppose.
parameter. Yeah.
Yeah, now it is working fine. So that means if you have to return something, then you definitely have the curly braces. Yeah. So for return statement, it doesn't work. However, if you just have a console statement or just one statement should be there, that's it, then it will work. Okay. However, there is no hard and fast rule that you have to use arrow function only. But yeah, you can use it because it is the newer syntax. Maybe in coming time, they will make it a standard to use arrow functions. Okay. However, there is nothing to be scared of it. Just use it. All right. Yeah. Yes, Pratik, you can use default parameters in this. All right. So if return is there, you can use the parentheses. If just one other thing is there,
How
you
do we
can
write
skip it.
anonymous function?
Sorry.
How do we write anonymous function here? Lambda.
Yeah, you can just remove this let def. It's anonymous only. Right now also it's anonymous. This is anonymous function.
The name of the function is def, right?
It's
No?
not def. It's not the name of function, but you are assigning a anonymous function to a variable def.
It acts
So
as an object, right?
sorry.
It acts as an object, right? Means when it comes to anonymous function, here def would be the variable name wherein we are assigning this function as an object to that variable, if I'm not wrong.
We are assigning the complete function to it, not an object. It's a function.
Okay, and that won't act as any object here?
No, that is an anonymous function. However, internally in JavaScript, everything is an object.
Okay. And here actually I got a doubt. While writing this kind of anonymous functions in ES6, can we still define let variables and variables with var keyword in this?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with the arrow or a normal function.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's just the syntax has changed of declaring or defining a function.
It's only ES6 standard wherein the function declaration and definition is changed. The syntax is
Right,
changed. That's it.
right. I will not say it changed, but a newer way has come.
That's what. Yeah.
Yeah. However, it is backward compatible as well. That means they haven't removed this declaration. This is still there.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. You can
Yeah.
use that if you prefer. No issues.
Sure.
All right. Okay. So let me see if anything is there. Yeah. Do you guys know what is
Hello.
IIFE? Yes.
One doubt, sir. Hello.
Yeah. Tell me.
Yeah, in this, if def is not the function name, so what exactly let is a keyword for assigning some variable or something similar to where. So what exactly def function here for? Means def keyword is for what exactly? Like it's a definition that's it specifying.
No, no. This is just a name. You can keep it anything, ABC, whatever you want to. Okay.
Okay.
So this is just a keyword. We just given it a DEF because we have used ABC on somewhere. Yeah, here we have used ABC. So that is why I use DEF here. You can anything you like JKL, whatever you want to. Okay. So that is not anything which is specific. However, when you create a function without any name, right? If you
Hmm.
remember how you create a function, how you should create a function. Let's suppose some ASD is a function, right? You create a function like this, right?
Yes.
And when you remove
Yes.
its name, it becomes a anonymous,
Anonymous function.
right? Which doesn't
Hmm.
have a name, right? But
Yes.
to access this anonymous function, what you have to do, you have to first assign it to a variable, right?
Hmm.
Something like
Hmm.
this. The same
Yes.
thing I have done here.
Okay.
Okay. So just
Okay.
to
Fine.
make it accessible, I have
Hmm.
put it inside DEF.
Okay.
Okay. Now coming to IIFE. What is IIFE? IIFE is immediately invoked function expression, right? So how you used to create IIFE in JavaScript, right? Let's suppose a function is there, right? And some parameters are there, a comma b, and what they do, they just print the, let's suppose they print their addition, a plus b, right? This is an anonymous function, right? Now how you call it when you have declared it? As soon as you declare this function, you want to call this function. You used to write something like this. You put that function completely in a bracket and then you write this parenthesis and pass the parameters, right? What is this? This is IIFE. This is IIFE. IIFE, which is immediately invoked function expression. Okay. This is how you used to do in normal function. Now, how you do in ES6? ES6 or how you will do it in a arrow function, right? How will you do this? Okay. Yes, self-invoked functions are the IIFE only. All right. So how you will do it in ES6? You are having some a comma b. You are having its definition. What its definition does? It prints a plus b, right? So what you will do, you will do the similar thing. You will put it inside the bracket and you call it like this. Okay, so nothing technical, nothing much here. Okay, you just follow the same syntax, whatever was in ES5, you write the same in ES6 as well, right? Only thing is the code written inside this parenthesis is changed, which is earlier it was following function syntax, now it is following the arrow syntax. Okay, rest everything is same. You cover the function in the parenthesis, using again a parenthesis, you call it. So maybe you call it self-invoked function, definitely self-invoked function, or IAFE. Its technical name is IAFE only, immediately invoked function expression. Okay, so this is just for the information purposes. You don't generally use IAFE. Okay, but if there is any need that you really want to call the function as soon as you create it, as soon as you have declared it, as soon as you defined it, you want to call it as well. Okay, so this IAFE is nothing but, let's suppose here like this, right? Suppose you have written something like this. Okay, from line number 65 to 68, as soon as you have declared this function, you are calling this function. So instead of doing something like this, you do like this. Okay, so here we are having a name using which you are calling the function. Here we do not have any name, right? So anonymous function is only a immediately invoked function expression, IFE. Okay, when you have name, then you don't need to create IFE, you can call it by name, right? But when you are having a anonymous function, you can make it a IFE, IAFE, immediately invoked function expression. Okay, so these are lot many stuffs given by new TypeScript. One more thing which I will tell you is let's getters and setters. Okay, so let's write a function. Let's suppose person. Okay, so person is there, all right, and inside this you are having some, let's suppose it accepts some parameters. Person name is having, person is having a age, all right, and then what you write this dot name equals name, this dot age equals age. Okay, so this is normal syntax, right? Let's suppose inside this you are having one function as well. Let's suppose get info, right? And it's a function, and what it does, it just prints the information of the person, right? It prints name is plus this dot name plus some text, age is this dot age, right? So how you create object of this function person? You just write somewhere person1 equals new person, right, and pass some information. Let's suppose person name is John and having age 30. Okay, so how you will access its get info function? You write person1 dot get info, right? This is straightforward. You created a function person which accepts two parameter name and age. It also has one function which gives the information of that person. what we do, we created an object from by using new person, passing two values, right? And then we are calling its getInfo function to get its information. Let's run this code. I just copy this and I paste it here. When I press enter, you can see it prints name is John, age is 30, right? This is straightforward syntax, plain JavaScript. Now let's talk about how you create accessors and getters in using ES6. Okay, so using ES6, this was plain ES5. Let's copy this. All right, and there what we do, okay, let me see if it's in today's scope only. Okay, no problem, still we'll do it. All right, so let me remove this. Okay, so this is clear ES5 syntax to everybody, that how you used to create a function person, which is nothing but a class here, right? And how you create its object and how you call its functions, right? Now comes the ES6 syntax. How you create a class in ES6. Okay, so if you look at ES5, there was no keyword called as class in ES5, right? How you create a class, this is nothing but a class, right? But there was no keyword called as class in ES5. But ES6 has come up with a keyword called as class. Okay, so there is a keyword called as class in ES6. So how you create a class? Class and its name. Let's suppose person. Okay, now inside this you can have a constructor as well, like this. And constructor can accept parameters name and age, right? This will have this dot name equals name, this dot age equals age. Okay, so till this point of time what we have done, we have created a class, its name person. Inside this we are having a constructor which basically constructs the object, right? Now here what you can have is, you can have a function as well, right? So a function can be just, let's suppose getInfo, right? What it does, it prints whatever was printed there, we will print the same thing. Okay, now how you will create the objects of class person, you may create using let person2 equals new person, right? You can pass some values to it, mac and age is 40. Okay, so let's run this code, which is ES6 syntax.
We don't have to add a function keyword or the arrow, both, for getInfo.
For getInfo?
Yeah,
No.
it's a function, right? So no keyword
Yes,
is
it
not
is a
required.
function. No, keyword is not required.
Okay.
So I print this and I press enter. Okay, what is it printing? I don't know what happened. As soon as I press enter, it prints the class. Okay, why is it so? So I print this and I say person2 dot get info. All right, yeah. So you can see person2 dot get info is printing the information of the person. Okay, so this is how you create a class in ES6. Okay, so now they have come up with a separate keyword class to create a class, right? Earlier what we used to do, we used to create a function only, right? We used to create a function, right? To create a class as well, we were creating a function only. Okay, yeah, for ES6 constructor you don't need to pass any name. No need to specify any name. You just write constructor and this constructor will basically become the constructor of person class. All right. Next comes one more concept of making a getters and setters. Okay, so till now what we do, we have written one person 2 dot get info, right? Like this. Okay, so first way of accessing this get info is as a function, right? We are calling it as a function. Get info is a function and we are calling it by parenthesis, right? Now you can specify a getter and setter as well. All right, so let's suppose I specify that get info is going to be return me something. Okay, it's not doing anything else, it is just going to return something, right? So I can specify get in front of it. Okay, so if I specify get in front of a function, then while calling it with the object, you don't need to use this parenthesis. Okay, so that means it becomes a property of that object, right? So this get info will become a property of the person class, right? So that means I can remove this parenthesis from here like this. So when I will write like this person2 dot get info, it will basically call this get info function automatically. Okay, and similarly, let's suppose you want to set something, right? Let's suppose I say set info is a function. Okay, which basically sets name and age. Let's suppose it sets this dot name equals a name, which has to become via parameter, right? So what you can do is you can make it set like this. Okay, however, you don't use this set and get oftenly, but you should be aware that there is something called a set and get. Okay, so I just show you get. Okay, now I will run this code. Okay, so what I'm doing, get info is a function, right? But now I will be getting it as a property, right? Person2 is object and get info is just a property of it. When I press enter, it prints the information of the person. Now in case of set, you can just pass something like this. I'm pinging in chat. Let's suppose you are having some set function, right? Set f person2 dot set f equals to some value. Okay, so slowly you can see that if you guys are aware of Java, then ECMAScript is now following what Java was following. Java was also having getters and setters. Java was having classes and objects. Objects anyways, JavaScript is also having. But yeah, JavaScript is also following now setters way, getters way, right? Yeah, for more than one parameter, as I told, for as many parameters are there, that many setters have to be created. Okay, just like beans in Java. If you guys aware of what is a bean in Java, bean object, same thing is now JavaScript is also doing. That means the front end, you can say ECMAScript is trying to do. Okay, so getters, setters, classes, right? All the stuff is coming to front end as well. Okay, how to read two variables? Yeah, for getters as well. You cannot read two. You have to create two getters only. Okay. All right. So I think today's lot of overdose of syntax. Lot of syntax I told today. So what we will do is we'll stop here. Otherwise, you guys will be overloaded with lot of syntax only, right? Because I think everything is new to you guys. If you guys are learning ES6 or looking at ES6 for the first time. All right, so what we'll do, yeah, so I got the reply, yes. All right, cool. So what I will do is we'll meet in our next session where we will continue with ES. All right, so that session is also dedicated for ES only. Okay, syntax seems much familiar to Prateek. All right, cool. So if it is very familiar to you, then this is pretty nice. You should catch fast then. However, many of us are not familiar with this syntax. This is totally new to a lot of us. Yes, it is like core Java only. Yeah. Any reference for ES6? I will say the documentation. Just look at the documentation, or online you can see some stuff. You can go there as well. However, what we are covering, we are trying to cover as much we require, right? So it's obvious that you cannot learn everything, but yeah, you should learn whatever is required to get started. All right. So these two sessions are prerequisites. You can say prerequisites for TypeScript, and TypeScripts are prerequisite for Angular. All right. So I think you guys can do is you can go through this session. Okay. And what I'll do is I will upload this in the dashboard. All right. All this syntax I am uploading in the reference material. Okay, so what you guys can do is if you want, then I uploaded this whole file which is having good comments as well. What is ES6, what is ES5? Okay, so you guys can go through this. So we have 1 day gap. We'll have next session on Wednesday. You guys can just go through this if you want, and then from there on we can take forward. Okay, but just go through once for once this tutorial is uploaded on the dashboard. Just go through it once and try to do this hands-on. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we stop here. We'll see you on Wednesday. Okay. All right, guys. Okay. I can see new. Few people have just joined, or they were just not replying anything. I can see Monica just now. I think Priyanka as well. Are you guys just joined, or you were there? Okay, you guys were there. All right, cool. Okay, so Priyanka has joined today only. All right. So Priyanka, would you like to give a introduction? You can unmute yourself, or you want me to do this? All right, no problem. She cannot talk on from her side, might be due to mic problem. All right, cool, no problem. So nothing like that. We'll see you. If you have any doubt, what you can do is you can just go through the tutorial of first session as well. All right, so few people have joined today only. Okay, so those who have joined today only, they can just go through the recording of first session, and then if you have any doubts, you can just reach me. I'll just again share my email ID with you guys. Okay, you can just ping on this. Also, you can write to support team, support@acadgil.com. All right. So however, these starting sessions are not that heavy. You can just understand them just going through the recording. Okay. Okay, this editor is Sublime Text. Okay, so you can use Sublime Text. You can use Visual Studio Code. All right. So editor is not an issue. You can use any editor. However, I do prefer these two, Visual Studio Code as well as Sublime Text. All right. Any other questions? Any other queries from anyone? Suhas, why you are not able to install Angular CLI? What is the error you are getting?
There's something called like map to registry something error.
Can you ping in the chat?
Yeah, sure. So it's giving me a warning saying that Graceful FS is not installed or something.
Just ping it.
Yeah.
Atul is also not able to install Angular CLI on Ubuntu. You should be able to. I don't know why. Can you guys ping the errors? What error you are getting? Okay, maybe you are Suhas. You are using, what is the version of Node you are using? I think it's less than 4. Atul, can you tell me what is the error you are getting? This is the command using which you can check. Oh, sorry, I sent to somebody else. And node hyphen version. So npm hyphen v or hyphen version, you can use anyone. These are some smaller errors only, small warning and all this stuff only. Yeah, don't look at the warnings. Warnings are okay. Only thing is your installation should happen. And you should see the version of your node and npm using the commands I have written. No, Sojanya, if you when you are installing an Angular CLI, you don't need to get any package.json. That is something which you are installing in your system. That's it. Just like installation of a software. But when you create a project, then you will get the package.json. Okay. Suhas, what error you are getting? Can you ping the error? Okay, it's a huge error. You are on Windows only? Yeah, then Windows, it's pretty straightforward. You don't need to do much. Just follow the steps which I have given in the reference material, and then you will be able to do that. Can you do one thing? If you are not able to, just try once again. If you are not able to do this, you can just uninstall everything, uninstall node, uninstall npm. Npm and anyways will get uninstalled. Okay. And then again restart your system and then download node and npm. Because these errors, I don't think so you should get. At least in Windows, because I work on Windows and for Windows everything is perfectly fine. Okay, for Atul it's telling Angular itself is not in the npm registry. Okay, Atul, I think I haven't used Ubuntu. So what you guys can do is you can just Google it how to install Angular 2 or Angular CLI in Ubuntu. Then you can get your answer. Yes, was on Windows 8 also it works fine. Earlier I was using Windows 8 only. For Windows there is no problem at all. Yeah, you just uninstall it, node and try again. Okay. Yeah. You just Atul, just try to Google it. You will get your answer, I think. Even though I never tried it, but yeah, it should be easy only. If you still don't get it, then we'll look at it in the next session. Okay. All right. Then I stop sharing my screen and we'll see you guys. Bye. Have a good night.